Hello and welcome back. When our Linux machine boots up, we're often presented with many diagnostic messages that tell us what's going on during the boot process. Sometimes these messages are hidden, or they just move too fast to really read what's going on. However, these messages are often logged for further viewing. In this video, we're going to look at a solution to the challenge problem on piping, grep, awk, and redirecting output using these log files. The first thing that I'll note is I'm logged in as the root user, and I'm going to open up a terminal and I'm going to change my directory to where the log files are kept. So we're given a hint. We're told to start at the root directory. And if I list the contents here, I see the var folder. I'm going to cd into var. And if I list the contents here, I have the log directory. And this is where a lot of our log files are going to be kept. So we'll cd log. Now, I'm looking for a file called kern.log, which is going to log a lot of the processes during the kernel booting up. And so it's right here, kern.log. And so this is going to be a pretty big file. So if I cat kern.log, we see, yeah, it's got lots of stuff in it, right? So maybe a more efficient way would be to use less. So I'll do less kern.log. And so now I can flip through all of these pages. But you see my file, it's got information going all the way back to like August 27th, there's the 28th, September 1st, the 3rd, lots of information. I'm really only interested in maybe today's diagnostic messages. So today is the 11th. So if we do cat kern.log again, right, I'm really only interested in, give it time, logs that were made today on the 11th. So I can use the grep command. So I'm going to take cat kern.log and I'm going to pipe the output to the grep command. And the question is, what is the pattern that I'm going to search? So you may think, hey, why don't I just search 11? That's the date we want. So if I hit enter, it looks like, yeah, we're getting all of the January 11th entries, but we also get a lot more. And so like here, maybe December 13th, because if you look on this line, an 11 appears right here. And so we do not want that. We do not want that. But we can grep our patterns with spaces, like for instance, January 11th, we can grep this whole pattern as long as we put the pattern inside of single quotes. And so let's try that right now. So I'm going to clear the screen and I'll call cat kern.log. We'll pipe the output to grep and our search pattern is going to be Jan 11. All right, so I think we're making some progress here because now we're only getting the log files from January 11th. But even here, this is a lot of information because it's logging. Let's see, I booted my computer up at 7:05 this morning, and it's like almost 2:40 in the afternoon, and so we're seeing quite a bit of information here. So we want to kind of narrow it down. I think I only want to look at maybe information that is about USB devices or my USB ports. And so let's call the same command. So I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to call the same command we did. So I'm call cat kern.log. I'm going to pipe it to grep and search for January 11th. And then I'm going to pipe the output again to the grep command and we're going to search for USB. And so now we're getting just information that is in regards to maybe setting up our USB devices or our USB ports when the computer boots up. Okay, let's search through here and see if we can find something that's maybe interesting. Okay, so here it looks like when a new USB device is found, it presents us with an ID vendor and an ID product, right? New USB device found, we get an ID vendor and ID product. New USB device found, ID vendor, ID product. I'm going to claim that maybe those numbers are important, and so let's try to filter this information so that we're only looking for when a new USB device is found. Well, in order to do that, if you look, it seems like every line that has that, the word found appears, and it doesn't look like maybe that's appearing anywhere else. So let's try to pipe this output again to grep, and we'll search with a parameter found. So I'm going to call, using my history, there's our previous command, and we'll pipe the output to grep again, and now we'll search for the parameter found, the pattern found. And there we have it, right? That is just, looks like what, 6 lines of information that's easy to digest, and maybe we can figure these things out. But you know what? We said we're only really interested in the ID vendor and the ID product. We're not necessarily interested in all of this other information. So I want to use awk now to just grab the fields that have the information that I want. So I'm going to call my previous command, and now I'm going to pipe the output to the awk command. Awk tac f, and now inside of my quotations here, I have to put the field delimiter. There's lots of different options that we could choose. For instance, if I use space, then Jan is going to be a field, 11 will be a field, the time will be a field, Cosmodrome, then kernel, etc. That's a lot of fields to kind of like count through. I don't want to do that. If I used a colon, then January 11th, 07 is a field, 05 is a field, 18 Cosmodrome kernel is a field. That's not really convenient. If you look here, what I want is ID vendor, and so it seems like they're separated by comma and a comma here. So I'm just going to use a field delimiter as a comma, and so when I do that, now I want to print. Let's see. My first comma appears right here, so this is my first field. All right, don't want that. So I want my second field and the third field. So I'm going to print $2 and $3. And then we'll close the command. And so let's check this out. Hey, and there we have it, right? Our nicely outputted information for ID vendor numbers and ID product numbers for some of the USB devices we have. This is great. We want to call this again, though, and I want to redirect the output now into a file that I can store maybe onto my desktop. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up a new tab here. I can split mine. That's just the Tilex software that I have involved. You could probably just open up a new tab in your terminal emulator. And I'm going to, let's see, ls, and I'm going to cd to my desktop, and I'm going to print the directory here. So the directory path, the absolute path to my desktop is \root/desktop. And so I am going to call the same command that I had before. So there's our command that gave us just our ID vendor numbers and ID product numbers. And now I'm going to redirect the output. Instead of going to the terminal screen, I'm going to redirect it to root. So that the / directory is called the root directory. And then root desktop. And I'm going to save it into a file called USB info. Hey, and look at that. Our files popped up right here. So this is really kind of cool.
All right.
I'm going to close this out. If I open this up and clear the screen, let's CD into my desktop. So CD home and then CD desktop. So there's the file. If I cat USB info, we have all of the information here. So I think, this was a great example of working with Grep and piping and awk. But let's go one step further. I'm going to open up a web browser here. So I'm going to actually use our GUI interface. And I'm going to just Google search, let's see, USB ID database.
And what's actually really cool, if we read more about it, we can see.
And I'm going to click on the first link here.
And it says a DU command appeared in version 1.
And I'm going to enter in some of this information, and let's just see. So I'm going to start with my last one. So the vendor number I'm going to put in is 046D, and then the product ID I'm going to put in as 0A02.
And I also ran it on Ubuntu.
And I'm going to search this. Let's see what pops up.
Down here on this timeline, the same command works on either.
So this says it is from Logitech, and it's a premium stereo USB headset 350. And I know you don't believe me, but if I look at the current headset that I'm using, on the cord here, it says Logitech premium stereo USB headset 350. So that's kind of interesting that we were able to get that information just by looking at some of the log files. So I use a Logitech headset when I make my videos. I don't know. Let's look at another one. Let's do the next one, 0461, and the product ID 4DE7.
So here's a quick
and so if I search this, we can see.
Unix manual.
So I guess maybe you could say we're doing some like Intel gathering, right? So
the next thing I wanna
Primax
talk
Electronics Ltd. It looks like that's maybe my webcam. Of course, my webcam, I have a small little sticker over it to cover it up. Because imagine if someone got this information, now they know what type of webcam I'm using. Maybe it has some vulnerabilities, etc. So I keep mine covered just in case. And let's just do one more for good measure. Let's do 8087, and then the ID product is 0024. So we'll search this.
So we saw the clear command, which technically was...
And it looks like this is Intel Corp, an integrated rate matching hub. I'm not really sure what that is. That might be for the actual USB ports that I have, but I might be wrong there. Regardless, what we've done here is we looked through a log file, probably a really big log file. We sort of filtered the output using pipes and greps and awk, redirected the output into a nice text file, and then we were able to look up some of the information about the devices that we have connected to our computer here. I think this is a great place to stop. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video.